Hello, Michael. Good afternoon.
Buongiorno,
Are you with
Michele.
us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Hello. Thank you.
Yeah, can you hear me all
First
right?
of all, okay. First of all, let me introduce Michael. Michael Augello is a senior advisor from IIBA Global. He has enjoyed a long career in IT and business consulting. His project and product delivery experiences included the full breadth of the project lifecycle. Later in his career, he successfully co-founded a consulting company that listed on the Australian Stock Exchange. And during his career, Michael also volunteered with IIBA Global as board director in 2010-2018 and was elected board chair from 2014 to 2016. Today, Michael has the role of senior advisor of IIBA Global, reporting directly to our president, Delvin Fletcher, CEO. This also includes supporting, coaching, mentoring, and training our business analysis community across the globe. Welcome, Michael. The stage is all yours.
Very happy to be here with you today. Buongiorno for you. For me, it's buonasera, but and I can't stop smiling. You know, I've been so excited all day, a little bit nervous, but excited all day because, you know, my grandfather, Nonno Michele, he left Puglia in 1926, nearly 100 years ago. And he thought he was going to New York. Somehow he ended up in Australia. Now that's a different story, how that happened. And my grandmother, Maria Assunta, and my father, Matteo, and my dear Auntie Lucy, because that's what we called her, Auntie Lucy, but, you know, Zia Lucia, they followed him 10 years later. So they arrived in 1936, and my grandfather came in 1926. And now the funny thing is I've spent my whole life spelling my name, my surname, because they can't pronounce it, they can't spell it. But when I go to Italy, and I like I like hearing the Italian language in this call. When I go to Italy, they say nome, and I say Michele, cognome, and I say Augello, and no mistakes. Beautiful. When in Australia, they say in your name, and I say Michael, and I'll spell my surname. I don't even try to say it. And I say Augelllo, and they write it down. And they said, they look at it and said, Michelangelo. Anyways, that's my story. I'm excited to be here. Business analysis in the days to come. And I think as I reflect, you'll hear hopefully a wiser, but certainly an older Michael. And from time to time, you'll hear me thinking and talking and guiding a younger, more nervous and a worried version of me. Michael the elder guiding and Michael the younger, trying to work out his career path. And I'm thinking right now, what Paola just said resonates with me, it always has. And I'm thinking right now, I'll be telling the younger me, hey, figlio mio. That's what my grandmother would say, figlio in dialect instead of figlio. She'd say, I'll be telling my younger me, smile. You've got this, and stick to the basics. Focus on the basics and do them well. Do them very well. And with a bit of luck, you'll have a career that looks something like this. Maybe, as Michele said, started in software engineering, did everything in the delivery life cycle from ideation to supporting live systems. Somewhere in the mix, I switched to management consulting and advisory, became a business owner, director, and I was lucky enough to be chair of the board and lucky enough to work in Zurich for a little while and in London. Very lucky. But it wasn't always like that. And I do remember I was confused at a younger age. I joined Shell straight out of university, and I didn't realize it at the time, but I was trained, I was mentored, and I landed in an awesome environment. I had great mentors and coaches, but I was confused. Should I stay in software engineering or programming? Systems analyst, do we still call that? Does that exist today? In a way it does, but I was a systems analyst. And should I stay in that path and become a project manager and maybe one day become a CIO? Or should I switch to the business? And I do remember wanting to switch to the business because I was supporting retail marketing. And I wanted to switch to the business, and the general manager said to me of IT, he said, why do you want to do that? And I remember thinking, I was 24. I remember thinking, I think it would be better if I joined the business and I worked inside the business, and I can be a better liaison between the business and IT if I work in the business. I was confused, didn't really know what I wanted to do. And for a long while, I thought I wanted to leave IT, leave the corporate world, and I wanted to become a barista. It's true. Lucky I didn't buy that cafe, and lucky I didn't become a barista. But I would tell the young Michael, if I could go back in time, I'd say discover your passion. And the younger Michael would say, discover your passion. Oh, I'm just trying to keep up. I was trained in mainframes and batch computing. And yet the very first thing I do at Shell, they switch me straight away, and I work on these new computers called mini computers. I'm working on these new things called real-time order entry systems. Everything's new, and you ask me to discover my passion. I'm just trying to survive. But I would say try different things, and action creates passion. And then one more thing about my background. Both grandparents on my father's side and my mother's side ended up settling in Australia, and they became farmers, and they settled in an area where there was fertile land. They became farmers, and the area was called Shepparton. Shepparton is also famous for the Furphy engineering company, and the name Furphy means a lot. It's very famous in Australia. And they made these water tanks back in the 1800s and the early 1900s. And every Furphy water tank had on the end, that end there, and it had the same markings on the end of the steel water tank. And down the bottom there is good, better, best. Never let it rest till your good is better, your better, best. And my relatives used to remind me, Michael, good, better, best. That's it there. Stamped in the steel, forged into my brain. Forged, it became a part of my adult life. Good, better, best. Never let it rest until my good is better and my better, best. The best it can be. And that's what's driven me my whole career. Continual improvement. Today, I want to talk about business analysis in the days of the future. In the days to come, a bit of magic dust. Who can predict the future? I'm not really sure, but we'll talk about it. And I think the future is exciting. May not come as a surprise for you that I'm excited about the future. Why? Because I think we've got the competencies, and we'll unpack it. And like I said before, to the younger Michael, focus on the basics, and we've got this. But we do have to acknowledge there's worry. People are worried. The corporates I talk to, the companies I talk to, the business analysis community is worried, and we should talk about that. And we'll unpack that a little bit about technology and the artificial intelligence changes that are coming. But I'll talk about, in the next steps, I'll point out and remind us some simple things we can do. And I say remind because I think and I suspect you already know what to do. But we all need reminding, so I'll take some time to remind us. And then hopefully there's time for question and answers. We'll see. Yes, the world we live in is frenetic. That's a word. It's fast. It's furious at times. And at times it's frightening, but it's exciting. And I think we've got this. Why do I keep thinking this? Why am I excited and not scared, so to speak? because I think as business analysis professionals, we are set up for success. And when I go to conferences and when I listen to the podcasts and I read the media, they all seem to be reinforcing what I feel, that we are set up for success. And in a strange way, Paola already mentioned some of those in her presentation. And I say it again, I'll say it a lot of times today. Focus on the basics, do them very well. And I say to you now, we'll take one step back and then we leap into the future with a bit of excitement, because we have got the competencies. And I remind you, ask yourself, what makes you good? Why are we, the business analysis community, in demand? Time and time again. What makes our community, the business analysis professionals, more in demand than other professions? And if we had time now, Michele, well, if we had time, we'd break into a workshop, and we have like good business analysis professionals, we'll get our post-it notes and we'll work it all out. But to save time, I'll share with you where I've landed on this, because I've listened over my career to probably hundreds of BAs around the world in my travels. So I'll jump to the end. We'll fast track the workshops and all the collaboration that we could do right now. But I ask you to think about it as I'm talking, and this is where I've landed. What do you do? Why do you do what you do? And what do you enjoy? And business analysis professionals all over the world, they enjoy problem solving. They enjoy the analytical thinking, the creative thinking. They're good at creative thinking. Some are more better than others, but systems thinking, decision making, learning. They have the interaction skills. We do these. We facilitate every day in our work. Negotiation, teamwork, influencing, teaching. And we've got those behavioral characteristics. Again, Paola mentioned some of them. Trustworthiness, integrity, organization and time management skills. We're adaptable. So we both, I talked about teaching and learning, so sense making and sense giving. And then, of course, we've got the communication skills, listening, verbal and non-verbal. The non-verbal skills, we've got all those things, and of course business and industry acumen, and we know a bit about tech. These are the competencies that set us up for the future. These are the competencies we're already good at. These are the competencies we're passionate about. Otherwise you wouldn't be a business analysis professional. They set us up for the future. But I get it. I hear it, I feel it, I see it. People come to me, I'm coaching and mentoring. People are worried. People are worried. I report to Delvin Fletcher, and he kindly let me use his slide. So my source there is Delvin Fletcher. He's done some talking and speaking in Europe recently, and he's just left Australia. And this is one of his slides. And he quotes Jeremy Hymans from the Harvard Business Review, very reputable source, the Harvard Business Review from earlier this year. And he talks about the wheel, and I'll read it with you, the paradigm shift, a real paradigm shift. The wheel, the steam engine, the personal computer. Throughout history, technologies have been our tools, whether used to create or destroy. They have always been under human control, behaving in a predictable and rule-based ways. As we write this, or he says, as I say this, as you read this assumption of behaving in predictable and rule-based ways is unraveling. Even I'm starting to be worried now. It's easy to get worried. Another quote from Delvin, this time for Sequoia Capital. And if you don't know who Sequoia Capital is, and David Kahn is a partner there, Sequoia Capital are investors, and they help entrepreneurs, and they've done so for many years. And they originally started in 1970s, and with $3 million, their first investment and the first guidance was with a company called Apple and another company called Atari video games. And since then, they've helped startups like Google, Airbnb, Instagram, YouTube. So they understand technology and they understand entrepreneurs. And their quote from earlier this year is, "The feeding frenzy of 2023 had a key weakness. It was an assumption that all the hard problems in AI have been solved, and therefore it's a foregone conclusion that AI will become ubiquitous, it'll be everywhere and powerful." It's an assumption. If we think AI is here and it's all sorted, no, it's not all sorted. And Delvin's takeaway, our CEO, the president and CEO of IIBA, said his takeaway was that it's an analytical thinking problem. Delvin said, and I'm quoting him, it's a business analysis problem to solve. My takeaway, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for the business analysis professionals like you and I to lead the way. So I'm excited that we've got an opportunity to lead the way. Now I say to the man who we saw before, who's pulling his hair out because he's worried, and I say to the young, earlier version of myself it's scary, from 40 years ago when I was 24, something like that, who was confused and worries. And for starters, I cross out the word worry. Don't worry. Don't use the word worry. Have a positive mindset and don't use the word worry. Concern is a better word. And I remember when I was at Shell and I had a mentor, he was a very senior man. I didn't report to him, but I knocked on his door and I said, "Keith," he was an Englishman. I said, "Keith, I'm worried. I think I've made a mistake. I think I've caused a big problem." And he said, "Michael," straight away he said, "Michael, don't use the word worry. Say you're concerned." And he made me start again. I said, so I had to knock on the door again. He made me start again. I knocked on the door. "Keith, I'm concerned. I may have made a big mistake." And he said, "Sit down, Michael. Tell me what your concerns are." And just straight away, instead of saying I'm worried and saying concerned, things started to calm down straight away. So the key learning there is control what you can control and use a positive mindset, and don't worry about the future. Certainly don't worry about it, and mitigate for the things that come up. And remind yourself, as I do, why do we do what we do? Why do you do what you do? And get in touch with what those things. And again, we could go into breakout groups and have a workshop discussion about it. But to cut to the chase, because I've asked BAs all over the world, why do you do what you do? And they all say in one way or another, they love to solve problems, understand what is needed, recommend solutions, and they enjoy adding value and implementing change for their stakeholders. And when I ask them, when you help your stakeholders and you implement the change, how does it make you feel? They smile. They lean forward, they smile, their eyes light up. Feel good. And so that's what I say is, don't worry. Be concerned, maybe, and chase those feelings of delight. Chase those moments where you're helping your projects, helping the products, and do things to grow yourself. And that action and moving forward and chasing those feelings of delight of helping others and growing yourself and helping your organization, that action creates passion. Good, better, best. Just get the best you can be. And as you go along, the worry turns into smiles. How can you not? How can you not smile? How can you not be happy when you're helping others and growing the organization and growing yourself? I'll remind you, I'll remind myself from time to time, and I'll remind you, perhaps not remind because you won't know, about Westpac, one of the big four banks in Australia. And on the world stage, Australia's a small country, but because of our regulated system, our big four banks are big by world standards. So Westpac is one of the big four banks. And in 2015, it's a while ago now, but the wise words of the retiring Westpac CEO, wonderful leader, Gail Kelly was her name, or is her name. And they asked her what her tips were in her 40-year career as she was retiring from after 7 years as CEO Westpac. And I remember it, I wrote it down, and I'll read it to you now. She said, it's about choosing to be positive. And she said, you can choose in your life how you respond to situations, and you should actively choose to be positive. She said, you should actively choose to be positive. To actively see the situation through a glass half full, not half empty. She said, half full perspective. You should choose, even in difficult times, to look at the learning, the insights, the opportunities, the next steps. Pretty powerful. I've spoken to some futurists because I wanted to business analysis in the days to come. I've spoken to some futurists, and futurists will say they study the patterns of the past to give us insight into the future. And one told me recently to project or think about roles of business analysis in, say, 5 years' time or 10 years' time. Sometimes you need to look back 30 or 40 years to understand the patterns. Hello, I've been working for 40 years. My career's been going, I'm perfectly qualified to look at the patterns of the past. And when Michael the Younger, when I first started, the terms that in the early in the 1980s, things like, I didn't work in IT or information technology, I worked in data processing. And I worked at a data processing center. I worked on a mainframe and then a mini computer, and we had floppy disks. And then personal computers came along, then portable computers, laptops, the World Wide Web, email was new, then the internet, and I could go on, all these things. And I used to program on a IBM mainframe, and Burroughs and Olivetti. These companies, Olivetti, I don't even know if Olivetti's still around. My point is since I started with Shell, my whole technology world has turned upside down. Nothing stays the same. Yet I'm excited because some things do stay the same. The world is changing, complexity, frenetic, fast-paced, furious, technology is hitting us all the time. The rate of change is faster than ever. So, and yet, some things have stayed the same. Analytical thinking, problem solving, those competencies, Paola talked about them earlier, and I'm excited to see on the agenda. The agenda's packed with these things. And I suspect we'll all come to the same conclusions. These things are going to hold us in good stead for the future. And again, I say it, I've said it plenty of times. To the young Michael and to the younger people in the audience and to some of the graduates who might be on the call, no matter what age we're at, do the basics well. Do the basics. I call them the basics. Paola was calling them the, what did she call them? The critical and strategic competencies. Oh, that's good. Now we're calling them strategic competencies. Well done, Paola. I say stick to the basics. It's always been important and always will be important. And if we don't work on them, there's a risk we're standing still. And if we're standing still, there's a risk we're going to be left behind by AI and everything else. So what can we do? Yes, I've got this business analysis everywhere. IIBA published this. They did a webinar one time and they used me as a case study. That's my career over that. From a business analysis, they're all the roles I've done in my career. Let's deep dive. In the middle, all the competencies, and they've set me up for all those roles in my career. And on the left there's roles that IIBA published, and there's roles that aren't even on that wheel of business analysis everywhere, like company chair and board director. And there's even roles over on the right. When I ran my own company, I was a co-founder of our company. I was the business development lead. I did all the business development sales, and the competencies I used were the same competencies because I worked out for myself. And I'm very proud of this. I worked out for myself. I was more successful when I stopped selling and I wasn't trying to sell. I was more successful when I was just trying to help my stakeholder. And the proposal I was writing was not a proposal, it was a business case. So I translated the sales deliverables into a business analysis deliverable. So what can you do? What steps can I take? I argue, what steps should you take? What steps should I take? And I'd argue, what steps must you take? And I look forward to hearing from Luigi, Maria, and Heather. And I had a look at the agenda. I'm sure there'll be some steps that they'll take, they'll be saying, but it's more than just listening to them. I think we have to put them into action. And a good place to start, a very good place to start, and I think you already know, is who do I want to be? My to be. But it's very difficult because most of us don't know exactly what role we want to do in the future. It's hard. It's hard to know what roles we can do in 5 years' time. So that's why I've got pick 2 or 3 different things, maybe. Still too hard. So start with the baseline of your current self. You know this. You do this every day in your careers, in your day job. Apply the same thinking to yourself. Baseline. Where are you at? Who are you? What are you good at? And then do a gap analysis and start to grow yourself into different paths. The common thing, there'll be common things to all those paths because you might not know which direction to go, but there'll be some things that'll be common. And I suspect the best place to start, oh, by the way, most of us won't know where to go and we'll do analysis paralysis. Oh, I got no idea where to go, so I'll do nothing. Again, I remind you, if you do nothing, there's a risk you're going to be left behind. So you need to grow yourself. And the best place to start, I think it's proven over the years, is to leverage your strengths and channel your strengths, get better at your strengths, master them, good, better, best. Become masters of your own strengths. Grow yourself, and along the way, you grow some new skills. And after a while, you'll get a reputation, and if you master them, people will start to say, hey, come over here, come and join my group, come and join my group. They'll start offering you roles that you didn't expect. And there's some roles there, and hopefully if we've got time in questions and answers, I've bolded some words there, data, workflow, change, but there's some roles that maybe be emerging. And as you grow and you get a reputation and start offering you roles, the mist will disappear and you grow yourself into a new and better role. Demonstrate your leadership. You don't need to have a team to demonstrate your leadership. Network and share your stories. But I'm tricking you. That's not a plan. That's a strategy on a page. You need to put a plan together. And some of you will say, oh, 90-day plans, that's too waterfall. Oh, we're agile. Okay, put a sprint. Weekly sprints. The important thing is you have actions, dates, and success measures. Unfortunately, I see, where is it? Get my computer back. Unfortunately, what I see too many times all over the world, that people put 3, 4, 5 bullet points together and they call that a plan. I want a pay rise, or I want to go to a conference. I want to get certified. They put 3 or 4 bullet points down and they call that a plan. That's not a plan. It's not even a strategy. It's a wish list. Over on the right, that's a plan. And here's another plan. It's got my what, my why, and success measures. As an analyst, for an example, I will improve my presentation skills. My what, now my why, so I can effectively communicate findings to key stakeholders. Success measure, I know I'm successful when I can explain things to non-technical people, say, if I'm a data analyst or something like that. And there's my plan. The things are grayed out because I'm not too sure how they're going to go, but 2 things for sure. I'm starting in January, and by December, I will have delivered a presentation. Now, that's a plan. And when you develop and grow, and you're adding value to your stakeholders, you're making a difference, you're understanding their needs, you're implementing change, you're adding value, as I said, and you're making a difference, and you're growing along the way and getting better. It's a beautiful feeling. It's liberating and inspiring. And so to summarize, and I will open up for questions if you have got any questions, for me, it's back to basics. Focus on the basics. Paola and others will call them competencies. She called it a shift from soft skills to critical skills to strategic skills. They're using positive language here, positive framework. So I focus on the listening and all those things and do them really well. Doing nothing is not an option. You could do it. You can, or should say, doing nothing could be an option. But if you do that, if we do nothing, there's a risk we'll be left behind. Master these competencies, understand yourself, define a strategy, put a plan, a real plan together, and then execute, execute, and execute. And find yourself some mentors, and don't forget to coach and mentor others. Get yourself a mentor and a coach, and don't forget to mentor others. I want to leave it there. There's more I could say, Michele, but we'll leave it there. And I'm happy to take some questions if there's time.
Okay, Michael, thank you very much. Really a very enlightening speech. A few interesting comments I've read through the chat. Marcida says that she loves your comments, stick to the basics and do them well, and then the good, better, best, never let it rest till your good is better and your better is best.
Yeah, so let me interrupt. I said, don't do them well, do them very well. Be masterful, be outstanding, and get a reputation and say, woo, that person's very good at this. Maybe we should get him in to do this for us. Maybe we should get him to do this. And all of a sudden, you're getting pulled and pulled all over the place. Anyway, yes. Any questions?
I know the question is, I think that you are, first of all, you're telling us that the future is it depends on us. So it's our responsibility. It's exciting, but it's also an important responsibility. And we need to balance concerns and opportunities, let's say in this way, which means negative and positive risk, which is okay. While you were talking, I was thinking, actually, you are suggesting us to become a business analyst of ourselves, because I have to understand where I am. I have to understand my future. I have to discover my gaps. I have to build a plan to bridge my gaps. So basically, I have to be the business analyst of myself. And while you were talking, I was also thinking, but if we are not good at being a business analyst of ourselves, how can we business analyst for organizations, and how can we really deliver value to our stakeholder? So that's my thinking based on your speech. And
yeah, so it's a very important, that's a good observation, because how can we help others until we've helped ourselves first?
Yes.
And we've got all the skills, we've got all the, and we do it. You know, it's funny, because if a stakeholder doesn't review a document or something like that, a sponsor, we would not let them get away with it. And yet for ourselves, we let ourselves off the hook all the time. But anyway, that's another thing. Yes. Sorry, I interrupted you.
One question from Daniele that's is also reminding us that our most important topic as business analysts is to work together with our stakeholder to understand their needs and create value for them. And this should be our first objective. How can you what are your thoughts about that? How can we, let's say, put together your speech with these comments? Because stick to what we are as business analysts with our future, I think they should be connected somehow.
Yeah. So first of all, when we're doing work for products or projects or any initiative, for me, it's always been the case, even from a young age. We must deliver value. We should always deliver value, and respectfully, business analysts all over the world know when we're not working on the right projects or the right initiatives. We know because we care and we understand. And I think respectfully, we should always try to understand why are we doing this change. And if it's not clear in a business case or there's no business case, I think it's our duty to find out why we're doing something, and we really should always aim to deliver value. And so that's the first part of that thing, always deliver value. And if you're not delivering value and you can't see how, you've got to have the courage to put your hand up and challenge and say, hey, I don't think we're working on the right thing. And it doesn't make you popular. It won't make you popular. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is when we're developing ourselves, I think we have to apply the same principles on ourselves and grow ourselves as best we can, apply those same principles on ourselves. And we're the only one of the few professions in the world where we can apply the skills that we do on our projects on ourselves. And I always say it's the most important project you'll ever work on, Michele, and that's developing yourself. It's more important. It'll be the most important project you'll ever work on.
Okay, so thank you, Michael. And as I understand, also there are people that would like to connect with you personally, maybe for future opportunities or just stay in contact for anything. I think they can contact you on LinkedIn. Is that okay
LinkedIn,
for you, Michael?
absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, okay.
LinkedIn
So you
is
can
the easiest
contact
way.
Michael on LinkedIn, or if you need to contact Michael, you can send an email to the IIBA Italy chapter, info@italy.iiba.org, and then we can share then.
And my IIBA email is easy. It's michele.augello@iiba.org. First name, second name @iiba.org. Very good.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for your wonderful words.
I can stop smiling now. I can stop
for...
smiling. Beautiful to hear you speaking Italian before. I loved it. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, also for your time.
Thank you.
Buonasera.
Ciao.
Buongiorno. Yeah, for me, it's buonasera.